I think in this conversation, we've actually also pivoted from your own websites, or we've dovetailed into social media and the online resources that we have available to us in our ecosystem. And also the collateral and content creation that we're sort of using between all these different platforms.
Totally. And it raises a really interesting question about, there are so many social media sites, so many ways that people engage online. And so do you need a presence in all of those? Are you sharing your postings on Facebook? Are you sharing through Twitter, through Instagram, through LinkedIn? And how do you decide where those, those opportunities are? Tim, what's your recommendation for that?
Initially, just to try them out. Because you don't know, like, is this opportunity going to resonate with my audience on Twitter, or is this going to resonate more with my audience on Facebook, or where it might be? And also use this as an opportunity to experiment. All right, here's a slide quote. If I'm posting it on Facebook, will I get some like interaction with it in the same way that you'd want interaction and comments if you'd be running a marketing campaign for anything else? And so I think there's like, what are the sort of low level, low resource experiments that we can start with, especially as we're just trying things out? Because as you pointed out, like, you could spend your entire week just focused on Twitter, and that might be useful. It might not. And so I think it's using maybe something like Hootsuite to like queue up posts at different times, just to see, like, do you get any traction with them around your ecosystem is really a good place to start. And it might be that the podcast, if you have a podcast episode, gets the most traction, but then do you record the podcast with video, and then you put sort of 1 minute snippets of someone talking on Instagram, I would also suggest, highly recommend to include captions. So any content that you post or produce, I often use rev.com to produce transcripts and captioning. It's really helpful to have transcripts and captioning produced, because that alone, or that also allows you to create different ways to interact. Someone might not want to watch a 30-minute video, but they could interact with the transcript. It's faster for them to read a transcript. That also gives you the copy then to just cut and paste directly into a quote slide. So again, all the different ways that creating this content and different formats can feed different experiments throughout your ecosystem as you're getting started.
Tim, what I'm hearing you talk about is this idea of, one of these other cubes on our schematic, which is this collateral and content creation piece. And so how are you recording or creating content that allows for people to experience the posting or see the posting or hear it in whatever ways are easiest for them to do so. And so, you think about the posting, and very typically we see that, in writing in a very specific way. And so what would it look like if we also included a link to an audio recording, so that if it's easier for people to listen to the details of that posting, they have the opportunity there, right there, to do that. There's also ways that you can treat that posting so you can view it with, highlighting or different fonts. And we've got some examples there in the generator and the Opera Philadelphia examples that we've shared already. And you can see that there's a few different ways to build into a Word document that just makes that contrast ratio, or whatever it is that people need, just makes that available so that they can process in an easy and an accessible way for them.
And I don't know if it's a pro tip or a helpful hint. When you set up the audio recording, it's an endurance sport. So whoever is doing it, recognize that, right? Because a lot of times what you'll do is that application package that includes everything, the job posting, the benefits, who it reports to, the compensation, all, the history, all these things. it's probably a solid, I don't know, 45 minutes,
Mm-hmm.
just maybe on average, of someone talking through this and reading it. So, so from our experience, like maybe you break it up into different sections. Maybe some people are like, no, I just want to read it all at once. But it is from a resource requirement standpoint, one of the pieces that's more endurance sport of this. But it then also provides different ways that you can pull that apart and use it in different ways. But just just a heads up that this is oftentimes you'll have the person who is reading it, and then you want to have someone who, if you're using something like Squadcast or Zencaster, that's sort of doing the quote unquote production and also like reading along to be like, stop, you read that wrong, you missed that point. So that's two people, probably a solid hour, maybe 90
Mm-hmm.
minutes to go through that.
And just another point here you're making me think of is, who is doing the reading of that posting? And so, if this is going out as voices of your organization, you may consider including, staff who may be unconnected, or you may, radio ads are typically like voice actors. Well, that doesn't necessarily have to be the case for something that's, audio recorded for a posting. And so who may be interested, is there an opportunity that you can create for others to engage with this posting as well? Are there people in the community associated with your organization that may be really able to lend their voices in unique ways to the recording of this posting? And that's about resources, right? Is it always the person in HR who reads the thing? Not always. It doesn't have to be. This is an opportunity where you may be able to be creative and focus on bringing others into your process.